No. I got probably one play every, and then that's it, man. Shut it down. Let them double Keenan, and then I get one-on-one action and have a good time. But no, man, it's always good to come out here, man, and mingle with the fans for the most part, mingle with the people who supported me over my illustrious 16th career. So, and then see the guys. More importantly, see the guys and get a chance to be away from the situation and looking from outside in, just to see the intensity, to see how it is. I know a lot about these training camp days, and I don't miss them at all.
Seems like they've gotten a little easier.
Yeah, it is.
In recent years.
It's funny, when I came in the league, we were doing 2 days, like literally.
Yeah.
2 days, twice a day. So now things has changed dramatically.
No limits on contact.
For the better, though. For the better, just because obviously the money's changed. You get so many guys who mean so much to the team. You just want to make sure that they can make it to the season healthy.
What do you see from Justin Herbert, especially coming into his second year? You've been down that road as far as from your first year to your second. What do you see out of him?
Well, I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for him, is that because he obviously, the ability is, that's the glaring thing about him, his natural ability at the position, his natural leadership at the position. In my opinion, he's already one of the better quarterbacks in this league. But his transition in terms of his first year, understanding that, okay, this is, my expectations now going into the second year. Because that's where it gets challenging because now we already seen what he can do. So now to maintain that level and that focus, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of, mental, physical repetition. And I'm sure he have it. I'm sure they'll put him in the best position possible to be successful. And he got all the right weapons around him to be successful, in my opinion.
When the league develops that proverbial book on him, how difficult is it? Is it just mental at that point? Or because his physical is obviously getting bigger, stronger, but is it just mental at that point for him to kind of succeed in the sophomore season?
Yeah, I think what happens too is teams are geared more towards you. They got a chance to see you on film too. I think that to me, even when I was a rookie and I ended up starting, kind of like the same. I ended up starting and I started playing well at the end of the year. Going into my second year, and obviously I was able to go to the Pro Bowl, but the idea of it was that guys were able to see what I can do for 16 weeks, 17 weeks.
Sure.
So now my moves wasn't new. So the things that I can do, whether or not, and that's what they do, and that's what they do well. These coordinators, they can figure out, where your weakness, if you will, is, where that lies at in your game, and they try to, dissect that part of you, and it's up to you to constantly get better. And that's why this is an ongoing process. You take it 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 week at a time, and you keep getting better. And I think that's the thing about him. He's going to keep getting better. I'm quite sure the staff that he has and the people that surround him and supporting him will constantly push him to keep getting better, because ultimately that's what you do. You stack hours and days and weeks and months, and then you become this player. And then when it's all said and done, like myself, you play 16 years and you see what happens. So I've got a ton of confidence in him, and obviously I'm a big supporter. I'm probably the biggest supporter, you know what I mean? So,
now you say you don't. You say you don't miss training camp, but what about the game? Do you miss?
I miss the players, man. It's so cliche for me to say that because I've heard it for 16 years.
Right.
Guys would come up here, and it was funny because I just felt like yesterday I was standing right over there. Guys would always come up and say, "Man, I miss the locker room. I miss this." And now I feel like I'm saying the same thing. Literally the same thing, because that's literally what you miss.
Right. Yeah.
Even though you hear it, it doesn't necessarily resonate until you're done.
Right,
And
sure.
now when I'm done, and I'm thinking like, man, all that the fun days and the complaining we did. Oh man, crap, coach, we got to practice again today. But that's what you actually missed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I think it's just creating memories when it's all said and done. Your life is always creating memories. It was a space and time that I lived in, with this boat nation, and I played, and I wouldn't change it for nothing in the world.
I got one more for you. Our company is putting together a list of the top 100 players in NFL history, and I'm tasked with writing the one on LaDainian Tomlinson. What made him such a special player?
Oh man, sure, man. You really didn't know. I mean, we knew, but I think when he left, I was able to really determine how great he was.
Right.
You talking about a guy who changes the perception of our offense, who changes the perception of teams that's coming in and trying to stop us from a defensive standpoint. I mean, you're going to see 8 in the box, so, a guy that create. I mean, I remember us, I just didn't remember this quick story. I remember us like blocking schemes when we called it tray block. And sometimes we would have a tackle on a tight end blocking a linebacker, defensive end to a linebacker, or defensive end to a safety. We got to a point where we would just double and we would leave the safety for LaDainian. That we've never done that. Like, since he left, it's never been done. You know what I'm saying? And I had some good backs. I had Ryan Matthews. I had Melvin. I had even Austin. I played with him. But he was the only back where we made him say, "This is your. If you can make this tackle, we'll deal with that." At the line of scrimmage, the safety is his. You know what I mean? And that made the game easier. Ultimately, it made the game easier. So when you have a guy that you can put in a space, and you say that if he tackled you, that's on you.
Right.
It doesn't. It just, and that's why he's who he is. I mean, that's why he's one of the greatest ever played. So, I can't imagine now someone having a guy like that, because it changes what we can do offensively. I mean, now guys like myself, and at the time, rest in peace, Vincent Jackson, and we had Chris Chambers, and we had other guys too. We had a ton of guys that can play. Malcolm Floyd and Darren Sproles. We had a ton of guys that can play. But the idea is that he was the wheels on the tank. He was the guy that no matter what happened, he created certain things and certain dynamics that allow us to flourish, allow us to maximize our ability.
Right.
And I was just telling you a quick story about the schemes. And at the time, it was just like, I thought this was normal.
Right.
You know what I mean? We just double team him and then we leave a guy for LaDainian.
Right.
But no. These are guys that's pros. These are guys that are getting paid. So, and you fast forward it, and now I'm playing with another back, and I'm just like, why are we going to the safety?
Yeah, we got to block him.
Well, you don't have LaDainian
sitting
sitting back there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a LaDainian Thomason rule.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't
They were
have
just
to.
that confident that he would beat the man.
He would make a miss,
Yeah.
and he would do it all the time. And we would leave one for him. And I mean, can you imagine? I mean, it's 2 against 1 instead of 2 against 2.
Right.
Now, we ain't got to worry about trying to get to the second level, even though that's the goal. We want to get to the next level and make that second block. But reality is that, if you didn't get there, the game was going to make you miss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you see a 70, 80-yard run on a regular.
How many times did you find yourself kind of watching what he did out there after you got to that linebacker and then watch him kind of get the safety? How many times did you find yourself just kind of peeking in and enjoying what he's doing?
Man, LaDainian was the kind of back that you had to. I mean, you can look up and he been to change directions. And he been to ran into you if you ain't kept. So you had to kind of like focus on what you need to do, because like this, it can be a big play.
Sure.
And at the time when we had Marty, and obviously we got to North Turner, but when we had Marty, I think the emphasis at that time and the culture was about being physical. And somehow these teams can kind of get away from that. The new day and age, they can kind of get away from that idea. But this is still football. You know what I mean? You need to be physical. You need to have tough kids, because you can get anybody to run and jump. That's why you see guys run 4.3, guys jumping 40-inch vertical, all that. But when you get out here, the ability to be physical is what helps you win football games. And he helped us win a lot of games. I remember my first game with Philip. We ran the ball so much, and we threw the ball, I want to say, like 8 times against the Raiders. And this was Philip, like first game, 8 or 10 times. And Philip threw me a touchdown. And I ended up playing, okay. But I was so, excuse my language, I was so pissed at the time. We only threw the ball 10 times. But when you got a guy like LaDainian, that's just what happens.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
That's
and then I catch the ball. There's plenty of times I've caught the ball and ran down to the 1, and all I hear is LT. And I'd be like, I got us down here, man. I can't throw the ball, But it was all love, and it's great to be able to play with someone of that magnitude and be able to tell your kids down the road and people down the road. I got a chance to play with a guy that was a difference maker in the game.
What's
so
the most?
you got to play. You got to mentor under Henry. Now he's with New England. He's wearing number 85 because of you. What does that mean for you?
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I was really, I wanted him to be here. Obviously, I'm quite sure a lot of us did. Unbelievable player, unbelievable kid. now he's a young man, obviously. So he was like a little brother to me. And can't say enough about the character and his work ethic. Obviously, due to injuries and things of that nature, I still don't think we've seen the best of him. And for him to wear the 85 shows a lot about how he respects, my work ethic and the thing that I try to bring to the table, which is, obviously talent is the foundation, but hard work to me was always the ceiling. When you mix, intertwine talent, hard work, you get certain things that pay off for you. And that's what I tried to do. That's what I tried to implement. I tried to say it. More importantly, I tried to do it. I wasn't a man of many words. I was a man that just come out, do what I need to do, and let that do the speaking for me. And I'll be looking forward to seeing how he does. As long as he don't do well against the Chargers, I'm okay.
Antonio, in your opinion, who is the greatest tight end of all time?
I had this debate with Cam Buford as a senior. Me and Shannon Sharp go at it all the time, and obviously with the up and coming guys now, I think everybody in their own respective way have some of the similar impacts to their organization. And when I think about some of the guys that I got a chance to play against and compete against, they brought the best out of me. And I think that's what it was about. Even when I played against Tony, when I played against, I remember Dallas Clark, I remember Jeremy Shockey, guys that don't really be brought up. I don't hear Shockey named a lot. I don't hear Dallas Clark named a lot, but those guys were some of the guys that allowed me to be Antonio Gates, pushed me to be Antonio Gates, if you will. So, I had a unique turning point from the position, and I feel like when I got here, the position was not the way it was when I left. And I think that was probably the biggest focus. And I think that's what I hang my hat on. And seeing guys now play the position at a level that I knew when I got here, tight ends were catching like 4 or 5 touchdowns a year. Now every time you look up, a guy got 10. You know what I mean? I remember, and I didn't even know at the time that it would be this impactful. I just came and I played and I did what was asked, and I would get cussed out a lot. I was always in the wrong space at the wrong time, but I had like this basketball style. Now I see it so much now. This little pivot route, this jerk route, and those are the routes that it was like natural for me. And I'm glad that the position itself has come a long way. And now I hope guys like Kittles, guys like that constantly push the position to be better and better.
You got your speech ready for when you get your gold jacket?
No, man.
You gonna wing it or what?
I'm not gonna wing it because I got a lot of people to think. Because when you wing it, somebody's gonna be upset. You know what I'm saying? So no, I'm not gonna wing it. But what I am gonna do is just try to focus on the present, because I know, that's a difficult team to make. And I've seen a lot of guys, even like this year's class. I'm just watching, man. I'm just thinking to myself, how do you leave somebody off? Like how? You know what I mean? It's so hard to try to distinguish who gets on and who, So I just, right now I'm just trying to make sure I get in. And then when I get in, the speech wouldn't matter. It'll be all in, it'll be my life. So it really wouldn't matter what I say. But what I am going to say is that my speech will probably be so different than the ones I've heard over the course of 5, 6, 10 years, because a lot of these guys grow up wanting to be there. They grow up wanting to play for the Chargers or wanting to play in the NFL. I didn't necessarily have that same goal, that same dream, so, and I think people need to know that, I think it's always a kid who needs to know that, no matter what happens, if you stay focused on certain things, good things can always happen. But I think that's why mine would be so unique. I was a basketball player who loved the game of basketball, who took my competitive edge and I applied it to the game of football. And I remember my rookie year, my first 2 years, after games, I was going in the locker room. Like, I didn't know nobody. I didn't have nobody to go say, oh, man, when we played Oklahoma State, or, you know what I'm saying? All my dudes was playing on the court, in the hardwood, indoors, So I just remember that, and then I had to finally build a friend base by going to the Pro Bowl, by competing against guys. I didn't know nobody my first years.
Who helped you through that transition from being on the hard court to now getting on the grass? Who helped you? Who was the biggest help, if you remember?
Obviously, the multitude of people, the people back home, obviously just communicating with them back home a lot in terms of what am I doing? You know what I mean? Like, I used to be on the field and I'd be coming home proud. I remember I dislocated my finger. And they was like, well, you can't practice. In my mind, Mark Shanahan had made me think, if you ain't healthy, you can't make this team. So I remember hiding all my pain inside. I'm like, I'm hurt, but I got to go. I can't go back. I done made a choice to give up something that I've been working for years and years and years, and now I am on a football field, and I had no clue how I even got there. I'm like, what's going on, man? I was just averaging 20 points a game in college, and now I'm out here with some of the best players in the world. I got guys from Nebraska and Florida State, and I'm thinking like, how do I get in this mix? And then when they start cutting guys that was, in my opinion, better than me, I just knew I was next. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, damn, they cut him. So it was just a weird experience, a very unique story, and I think people need to know that. You know what I'm saying? I really do. I think, my will alone is what got me here. Because they all, obviously, being a basketball player, they, question your toughness. And I think I'm the standard now. You know what I'm saying?
You
I think I'm the
address
standard, right?
that pretty good.
I think I'm the standard of how you play the game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
You keep up with the league now, and if so, like, who impressed you as far as the tight end position? And you also, when you watch hoops, who impresses you when you watch hoops?
I do. It's every blue moon a guy might catch my eye, and the guy who's been catching my eye lately over the past year or so is the boy from Oakland, where he's Las Vegas Raiders tight end Waller. I think he's a unique talent. Seems pretty raw. He reminds me of, closer to. He doesn't have the earthy jerky game like how I had it, but just like a raw ability. He don't have the raw ability like I had. He has the raw ability like I had. That's what makes me, tune into his game. When I see him he had a big, huge game for like 150 yards. I'm like, that looks familiar. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I came into the league. So I've been paying attention. Obviously, the best of the best is Kittles and Travis, and those guys are still, the top. But he's a guy to me, from a talent standpoint, that's just, closer to what I would think in terms of how I play the game.
What about the NBA? Anybody impress you in the NBA that you pay attention to?
Yeah, I have a lot of different scenarios because that's like my passion, man. So, I kind of critique it in a different manner. Like I give you an example. I thought Drew Holiday was the biggest acquisition this year. You hear about all the stuff. To me, he's a superstar. I don't know. I understand the game a little bit. So the way he plays the game, the way he defends, the way to me, he's one of those players that we all know when you're competing, there's always a player that that's a superstar, but he doesn't quite get the credit. To me, he's a superstar in my mind because what he brings to the table is just things that you just cannot teach. Leadership, aggressiveness, ability to change the dynamic of a team. And you can't see it until you play with a guy like that. And I had guys that it was similar to him, nothing quite like him, you know what I mean? And that's funny, I thought that going into the season that Milwaukee had a chance because they added him. They added PJ Tucker, guys like that it's like glue. They are like glue to the team. Like, what Giannis can do, right? What Middleton can do, but you need the glue pieces. Like in this league, you need the glue pieces. And that's why after the first 2 rounds, the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round draft picks, those are important, so.
You look like you're at playing weight.
Yeah, I try to, man. Out here, vegan, gluten-free, you try to do everything. I done try all type of diets, man. So I'm all over the place.